As you all know, we have ongoing book distribution marathon going on, and we are having this time marathon dedicated to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So it's such a wonderful day, and we have with us the wonderful association of one of the most senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Bhima Prabhu ki Jai! So Prabhu is a very iconic figure in Mumbai, right? We have many iconic figures in ISKCON's preaching in Mumbai. Giriraj Maharaj, Bhima Prabhu, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Sridhar Maharaj. These are all iconic figures. So it's such a wonderful occasion here that Bhima Prabhu, out of his busy schedule, agreed to come to Radha Gopinath Temple iskconchowpatty here and give us an inspiration so that we can continue doing book distribution to please Srila Prabhupada and please Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So Bhima Prabhu has been in ISKCON for many, many decades. Early 1970s, he came in touch with Srila Prabhupada's movement ISKCON in USA, got initiated there. Somewhere in the mid of 1970s, then when nothing was here in Mumbai, Radharas Bihari was under construction, and Prabhu shifted to Radharas Bihari here. On the order of Srila Prabhupada, he took the Sankirtan department, book distribution leader for many, many years. Prabhu has been traveling since then all over India and beyond to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. As told us some devotees in ISKCON that when no one is available, Prabhu would drive the bus. And he's driven the bus all the way to Nepal also. Can you imagine? So Prabhu is one of the main iconic figure of ISKCON book distribution. The Bhadra Purnima marathon, which we have every September, that's a brainchild of Bhima Prabhu. He got this Bhadra Purnima going along with Vaisheshika Prabhu. And it's a big marathon along with the December marathon. And one of the most important contribution, apart from being the president of ISKCON for 11 years, Sankirtan leader, one of the main contribution of Bhima Prabhu is he is the trustee of BPT, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. So you were mentioning a few weeks back that how Srila Prabhupada ordered Gopal Krishna Maharaj to print some books, and right from 1970s nothing was here, and now we have one of the largest BPT in the whole world is in Mumbai, in India, right? And Prabhu is the one who is spearheading the whole thing. And we know that whenever you want books, any title, any language is all available, right? It's very difficult to get books anywhere in the world, any title you want. In India, we get in all languages: English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Assami, Bengali, and many more maybe. And all these books are available because Prabhu has very wonderfully organized the whole BBT, and the wonderful BBT is now giving us books so that we can distribute these books all over India, wherever we are situated. Under this leadership, recently, BPT also came out with the Transcend app. We all know that online platform where Prabhupada books are also available. So Prabhu's whole introduction is quite big to keep the time short so that the sadhu speaks. When he speaks, you understand the glory of a sadhu. So indeed very happy that Bhima Prabhu has agreed to come in spite of his schedule to inspire us in book distribution marathon. Let us hear from him, and first of all, I welcome him to Sri Radha Gopinath Temple heartily by 3 times loudly chanting Hari
Hare Krishna.
So we also have with us His Holiness Bhakti Rasai and Sagar Maharaj, who is sitting here. He is a senior disciple and sannyasi, disciple of His Holiness Indra Sai Maharaj. So from Maharaj preaches extensively in Russia. So he also heard yesterday night, and he will be here for a few days. So Maharaj is giving today's evening Bhagavad Gita class also. So please kindly come for that also. So let us welcome Maharaj also to Radha Gopinath Temple by 3 times loudly chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you, sir.
So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Yasyanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamanaha Vrajastriyo Drigviranu Pravrita Diyo vatastu kila krita seshaha. Translation. The damsels of Braj, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In his boyhood at Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was notorious as a teasing friend in transcendental love to all the girls his age. His love for them was so intense that there was no comparison to that ecstasy, and the damsels of Braj were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Shiva. Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat before the transcendental affection of the gopis and declared that he was unable to repay them for their unalloyed affection. Although the gopis were seemingly anguished by the Lord's teasing behavior, when Krishna would leave them, they could not tolerate the separation and used to follow him with their eyes and minds. They were so stunned by the situation that they could not finish their household duties. No one could excel him, even in the dealing of love exchanged between boys and girls. It is said in the revealed scriptures that Lord Krishna personally never goes beyond the boundary of Vrindavan. He remains there eternally because of the transcendental love of the inhabitants. Thus, even though he is not visible at present, he's not far away from Vrindavan for a moment. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gadin Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, this chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, begins the conversation between Uddhava and Vidura. Uddhava was met by Vidura, and Vidura was inquiring about Lord Krishna. So Uddhava, who had been with Krishna in Dwarka from his childhood, just thinking about Lord Krishna, he immediately went into ecstasy. And it took him quite some time, as described here in Bhagavatam, before he came to his external consciousness and he began to speak about Krishna. The pure devotees of the Lord, they're always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. They don't think of anything else. Even the material energy, when they see the material energy, a conditioned soul, sees the material energy and then thinks of something in relationship to this material world. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita it's described that when the pure devotee of the Lord sees something, say for instance like a tree, right? Well, we may categorize it and say it's a mango tree and it's got leaves, and the leaves don't fall off of a mango tree, they're always there, right? Some trees, the leaves fall off, but mango trees are always, the leaves are there. So we may think like that in terms of biology or some scientific thing, right? But a pure devotee of the Lord sees a mango tree or any tree and understands there's two energies involved. He sees Bhumirapo Nalovayu and thinks of Krishna because it's Krishna's energy. And he knows that also the tree is alive because of the spirit soul, the living entity within inside the tree. And also he knows that that living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. So again, he thinks of Krishna. So this is just an example of how the mentality of a pure devotee is. The pure devotees always thinking of Krishna, and everything reminds a pure devotee of Krishna. So that was the situation with Uddhava when he met Vidura, and Vidura was inquiring about Krishna, and then he spoke these verses. Right? Uddhava was a very confidential devotee of Krishna in Dwarka, and he looked like Krishna also, bluish color, right? And they used to call him the madman of Dwarka because he was always crying in love for Krishna. He had ecstatic emotions for Lord Krishna. And Krishna had sent Uddhava to Vrindavan specifically to appreciate the mood of devotion that the inhabitants, especially the gopis, had in Braj. And in this verse, he's remembering that, right? This is a very confidential understanding of the devotees in Braj, their love for Krishna. It's different than the attachment that the Yadu dynasty in Dwarka had. It's different from any other level of prema. It's very special. And so therefore, just so that Uddhava would be able to understand that, he made a message and he gave it to Uddhava and he said, you go deliver that to the devotees in Braj. So he knew something of this transcendental mellow, a relationship the devotees have in Braj with Lord Krishna. Although Uddhava's relationship with Krishna is very, very intimate, from his childhood, he never wanted to go to breakfast, or his mother would be calling him because he was always with Krishna and thinking of Krishna. So very confidential, but yet, even though his association with Krishna was so intimate, it didn't compare to the association that the devotees in Braj had with Krishna, especially the gopis. So, this is a very elevated level of devotional service that Srila Prabhupada is explaining about here in this purport. And it's not known even to Lord Brahma. Maybe Lord Shiva knows, maybe he doesn't. Right? But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he specifically came to open this relationship up so that everybody could enter into this relationship of the mood of the devotees in Braj for Lord Krishna. So, in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that the cowherd boys, they performed heaps and heaps of pious activities. And because of that, now they're, playing with Lord Krishna as their cowherd boyfriend. Pious activities, he's referring to devotional service. Actually, devotional service is beyond pious activities. By pious activities, one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, right? But ordinary pious activities won't get you to the spiritual world. That requires devotional service. And that devotional service is performed as prescribed by Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Right? Hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna. Our position as conditioned souls in this material world is that for so many lifetimes, we've heard about so many things other than Krishna. By hearing about something, you can develop an affinity for that thing. right? Just like maybe we've never been to Andaman Nicobar Islands, but if somebody who's been there tells us it's a really nice place, it's a very clean air, which we never see in Bombay, clean air, right? So we may develop an affinity to go there and see that place, right? Develop a desire, right? So it's the same thing in devotional service. We're so used to hearing about the manifestations of the three modes of material nature in this material world, we kind of think that that's all there is, right? But no, there's something much more than that, and it's in the spiritual world. And the process of devotional service is to hear about that, chant about that, think of that, and to ignite a desire to attain that place. This material world is not our home. It's not our home. Although we try to make a nice, house somewhere and make it very nice, still it's not our place. We're all foreigners here in this material world. Just like if you want to go to America, you have to have a visa because you'll be a foreigner there. And I, coming from America, I need a visa for India because I'm a so-called foreigner here. But what we really need to understand is that we're all foreigners here. This is not we're all foreigners, right? And just like, the people are lined up to go to America, a big line outside the American consulate because they want to go to America. Why? Because they heard it's a nicer place. They heard that you can make a lot of money there, right? Sabse badi rupya. America mein milega. That's what they heard, right? It's the same process. We should all be lining up to get back to the spiritual world, right? But we haven't heard about it. Nobody's heard about it. It's a big secret. These pastimes of Radha and Krishna are so confidential and so unique, right? But Srila Prabhupada, out of his unique kindness, has given us Srimad Bhagavatam explained in such a way that we can grasp it. We can understand the importance of this human form of life to help us to get back home, back to Godhead. But we are living in the material world, and therefore we have our responsibilities and our duties, and a devotee carefully performs those, but at the same time has this burning desire to get back home, back to the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada wanted us to have that desire. And our unfortunate situation is that we don't have much desire to go back home, back to Godhead. We think everything is okay here. I'm okay, right? I have my bungalow, I have my bibi, I have my bacha. It's all right, right? So transcendental knowledge, this spiritual knowledge, can help us understand what our situation actually is, right? And our situation is actually very precarious. So many lifetimes we've chased after the 3 B's, right? But we were never satisfied. So many lifetimes. And this lifetime again, we're chasing after this illusory concept that if I work hard, I'll get some opulence and I will enjoy. And this can go on unlimitedly for millions and millions of births. Yet by the immense compassion of Srila Prabhupada, who came to the Western world to spread Krishna consciousness, we have the opportunity to understand something different. That there's more to this human form of life than just trying to become expert at fruitive activities. Right? So, the material world is going on because of Krishna, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate charachanam. This material energy is working under my direction, he says. And he sets things up in a particular way. And we see from the Vedic literatures that people, it's recommended that one perform yajna, right? And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Anad bhavati bhutani parjadyan anasambhavaha yajna bhavati parjanyo, that by yajna one will get rains, and by rains one gets grains, and grains is what gives nourishment to the body, isn't it? Everybody here eats rice, right? And chapatis? Where do you get them from? Are they manufactured in a factory? It comes from the ground, right? Comes from the rains, right? And that rain comes by performance of yajna, or sacrifice. So yajna is so important to everyone. Just our sustenance is there by performance of yajna. So Krishna, Lord Krishna as a child, he was in Vrindavan and he was with his inhabitants of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys and the gopis. Yet this concept of yajna was so important that he took time out from that and he went to the ashram of, boy, that's kind of weak, nobody knows. Sandipani Muni, all right? And there he learned yajna. He's the yajnapati, right? The source of all yajna. But still, just to set an example to how important yajna is, he went to the ashram of Sandipani Muni and he learned, of course he knows already, but he learned yajna from Sandipani Muni. So yajna must be pretty important, right? He and his friend Sudama Brahman, they went to the forest and they were collecting wood for the spiritual master, Sandipani Muni, so that he could perform the yajna. And in there's one book that's written by Vaisheshika Prabhu called Our Family Business. How many here have read Our Family Business? Okay, anyway, there's one very interesting point that he makes in Our Family Business. He says that, he explains about the importance of yajna and how Krishna also was there assisting Sandipani Muni in the performance of yajna by carrying wood. And the Upanishads, there's also one mantra that you must carry wood, right? Carrying that wood for what? Carrying that wood for the yajna, right? And by performance of yajna, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, all things will come. Everything will come. So nowadays it's very difficult to perform yajna because yajnas, along with having the sacrificial fire, there's proper chanting of mantras, right? In the ancient times, the fire for the yajna was lit by mantra. No matches, right? Just by chanting the mantra, the fire would come out. But where are you going to find those kind of Brahmins that can chant the mantra and start a fire, right? Not there. And if you're not properly chanting the mantras, you can make a big mistake. And that happens also. When the demon Vitrasura, there was a performance of a yajna and the mantra was chanted, that this demon would be able to kill Indra. But they chanted the mantra wrong, and the demon would be able to be killed by Indra, just by mistaking the mantra, right? Vitrasur. Of course, that was all Krishna's transcendental arrangement. So, in this age, the practice of yajna through sacrificial fires is more or less ceremonious, and it really doesn't have that effect. So then what to do? Well, it's still the same process, you know? And and that yajna is a Sankirtan yajna. And the Lord specifically came in a hidden form. It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And He's worshipped, the Lord is worshipped in this Kali Yuga by the performance of Sankirtan yajna. Yagnai Sankirtanai Prayi. Yajanti hu sumedasa. By the persons who have sumedasa. Medasa means intelligence. Su means good. Nowadays people have intelligence, but it's kumedasa. Not properly directed. Not properly directed. No doubt they're very meritorious in what they develop, but it's not beneficial for human society most of the time. Prabhupada gives the example of atomic energy. So what have they done with atomic energy? They just made an atomic bomb. Instead of beating somebody to death with a club, they can kill 150, 200,000 people at one time with one atomic bomb. So, kumedasa. But what we need to have is sumedasa. We need to have auspicious, positive intelligence. And that will come about by performance of yajna, and specifically the Sankirtan yajna. Right? So the Lord Krishna was carrying wood, Sudama was carrying wood, Balaram was carrying wood, and we should also carry wood for that Sankirtan yajna, the yajna. And what is that? Well, when we carry these books, which are Shabda Brahman, what are they made out of? Paper, right? What's paper made out of? Right? So you see, 5,000 years ago, what Krishna set the example for, even today we can do. Right? By carrying these transcendental literatures, paper which comes from wood, we're assisting the Sankirtan yajna, the yajna. Srila Prabhupada said in the year 1974 on a morning walk, he said, very soon there'll be a war. It'll start between India and Pakistan and spread all over the world. World war. And then he said in Geneva some months later, in the summer, he said there doesn't have to be a war because if we enthusiastically spread the Sankirtan movement by performance of the Sankirtan yajna. Right? That was over 50 years ago. So this Sankirtan movement has kind of staved off the effects of Kali Yuga. Right? But just as Kali Yuga is increasing, our efforts for the Sankirtan yajna, it also has to increase, isn't it? Right? And that means more distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada explained that our main propaganda work for this international society for Krishna consciousness is by the sale in distribution of these books. Right? You know, it's good for the people that get the books. It's good for us. When we try to sell a book, it's like Krishna and Balaram told the cowherd boys, you go and beg some food from the brahmanas. So they went to the Brahmins and said, Krishna Balaram's hungry. And they said, Hare, we're Brahmins, we're busy in the yajna, don't bother us, go. He shooed them away. So they came back to Krishna and Balaram and they told him we couldn't get anything. They said, it's all right. That is the way of begging. When you're begging, you have to be prepared to be refused. So then, of course, they sent them again to the wives of the Brahmins, who were very accommodating and gave so many foodstuffs for Krishna. So we can learn from that. When distributing books, obviously some people are going to say no, but we shouldn't be disturbed. Krishna's instruction to the cowherd boys is for us too. That's the way. We're beggars, we're transcendental beggars, begging on behalf of Lord Krishna, right? Who's a Lakshmipati. All opulence is with him. But people are foolishly thinking that they have some opulence. They can control some opulence, right? When actually everything is owned and controlled by Krishna. Simply, the devotees of the Lord are interested to engage them in Krishna's service for their own benefit and for the benefit of the whole world. Right? By satisfying Krishna, we're supplying water to the root of the tree, and all the leaves are nourished. If you go and try and put water on every leaf, ultimately you won't be able to do it anyway. I mean, even if you could, the tree will die. But if you supply water to the root of the tree, then automatically all the leaves and branches are nourished. So this performance of Sankirtan is like that. It's for the satisfaction of Krishna, and it's for the satisfaction of all the living entities in this material world who are in such a precarious position. But it's more than that. Many things are performed. By the Sankirtan Yajna, there's a purification that takes place. We can't understand Krishna by our scholarship, right? If you're a great speaker in the Bhagavatam, well, you may get followers, you may get wealth, you may get fame also, but that's not enough, right? One has to actually get the mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna. Then you can understand the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then you can really understand what is the relationships between Krishna and the gopis in Vrindavan. Not otherwise. So how do we do that? Again, by this performance of Sankirtan, the Sankirtan Yajna. By distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, we benefit the person that got the book, we benefit the world situation, but we benefit, number one, the most by getting the mercy of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and all the Parampara. So these are some of the reasons that devotees perform Sankirtan. And it's blissful. Right? It's a blissful thing to do. Helping other people, helping yourself. Right? The Paramatma from within the heart, He makes Himself revealed to us by performance of the Sankirtan Yajna. The great sages, they practice meditation for thousands of years to come in contact with Paramatma. Right? But even a new devotee that goes out on Sankirtan and tries to sell books immediately gets connected with Paramatma. Because unless we're praying to Krishna, unless we're in touch with Paramatma by expecting His mercy, nobody will take a book. Right? When you're not able to sell a book, what do? Oh, Krishna, help me. Right? So immediately we get in touch with Paramatma. And the Paramatma reciprocates in so many ways. There's so many examples of that. So this is also a sadhana. Distributing Srila Prabhupada's books is a sadhana. It's, in the words of Vaisheshika Prabhu, it's high sadhana. Trying to engage the conditioned souls, to bring them to their original consciousness or Krishna consciousness. And if we stick to this process, we can expect, just like expect to get the mercy of Krishna, just like the son of a very rich man. Now, he's going to inherit his father's property, right? All he has to do is hang around, and do what he's told, and he's going to get whatever his father owns, right? It becomes his inherent right, right? So in the same way, if we stick to this Krishna consciousness movement and try our level best to spread Krishna consciousness, and the most effective means is distributing books, then it becomes our inherent right to inherit the spiritual world. So that's a great offer. What better offer can we expect than that? And besides, we've already done everything in so many lifetimes and so many times, and it never made us that happy. So why not in one lifetime surrender to Srila Prabhupada and his followers by distributing transcendental literature? Hare Krishna. So we have a little time if you want to ask some questions or you have some comments, something that you'd like to share with everyone, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful, brilliant class. I especially like the point of connecting Sankirtan Yagya with the age-old process of Yagya. I'd never heard before it. It's a beautiful idea.
So you got to read his book. It's in Vaish's book.
So, Prabhu, my question is that often we see that when becoming Krishna consciousness, there will be a lot of enthusiasm for all the processes of Krishna consciousness. And especially I have seen many devotees telling me that once we get initiated, then we just do the minimum whatever is required. So one of the things which gets put off after we spend a lot of time in Krishna consciousness is the distribution of books. The Kamal Lachanko once told me that, Prabhu, you see book distribution is often done by devotees who are new in the movement. The whole devotees don't do distribution. So I kind of analyzed that. I saw that maybe that's one of the reasons why we don't feel enthusiasm, even though marathon is going on. So I'd like to ask how we can, even for devotees who are practice Krishna consciousness, they can keep the same zeal in spite of aging, health and all. They can still distribute books like you are doing still book distribution for so many years.
Well, it's a fact when you get a little older, it's a little hard to get inside a bus and go traveling and park the bus by a river and take a bath in the river and, do your thing out in the field and, it's a little more difficult. But it's pure nectar. If you haven't been on the bus, if you haven't been out on traveling Sankirtan, I can tell you, you don't know what you're missing. Because there's so much mercy that you get. The devotees from the Radha Damodar Traveling Sankirtan party, they met Srila Prabhupada. And they said, Srila Prabhupada, you please pray for us. And Prabhupada replied that you should know that I'm always praying for the boys in the buses. Special mercy. I remember at one time in Ahmedabad, there was a lady who had a bus party. Her name was Hari Kripa. And she went out with Vishaka and Gayatri. They were Gujaratis. And they traveled all over Gujarat distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, even ladies. Right? So it's open for everyone. And if you haven't tasted that nectar, all I can say is you don't know what you're missing. Because you're directly under the mercy and the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was just delivering love of Godhead so openly, everyone, making it available to everyone. So many different pastimes and experiences are there that the Lord just kind of takes charge of the devotees that are trying to distribute books and guides them. I can remember one time we were in Maharashtra. We had parked the bus. We had a very big bus. It was donated by Srinathji, right? Dr. Narendra Desai. Very big bus, and had Lord Jagannath in the back. So sometimes it was hard to find a place to park. But sometimes we'd find very nice shopkeepers. They'd let us park the bus in front of their shop, and we'd, be distributing books in Maharashtra. Ya nagya sarvani ikre ga bhaga Bhagavad Gita jasyai tashi. Like that we were selling Bhagavad Gita. And sometimes the shopkeepers were so nice, they even would give us electrical connections, so we didn't have to run down our battery. But some of them were not nice. Really, they were, they could get pretty heavy. Get your bus out of here. We know, you're blocking my shop. So this one shopkeeper was so adamant, he went to the police and he brought the inspector to the table. He said, see, they're blocking my shop. So the policeman's asking, what are you doing? Well, sir, we're, distributing Marathi Bhagavad Gita to the public. And he took one copy and he was reading it. And he turned to the shopkeeper and said, what are you, a Muslim? They're distributing Bhagavad Gita. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he encourages the devotees who get out of their comfort zone and try to serve Lord Chaitanya's mission. He helps. So it's available for everyone. And if they have that opportunity, you can join the Sankirtan party or join the devotees that are distributing books. Don't miss it. Try to catch it. You'll be fortunate if you do. Any other questions? Please.
Take the mic.
Here comes the mic. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram.
Krishna, it's a great fortune to hear. We are very blessed. Prabhuji, I distribute the books, but I distribute books with a good intention and with the mercy of Prabhupada. But the next person take the Bhagavad Gita, whether he destroy or he doesn't destroy, that is his karma or my karma. If he takes the books, if he's not reading, so it's...
You never know where the book is going to go.
Okay.
You distribute the books. It may not be that person who benefits. It could be somebody else. One devotee, his name was iskconchowpatty. He was in America. He was working at a car wash. He was a young boy. He's working at a car wash. And somebody had got a teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And they cleaned out their car and they threw it at the car wash. And he found the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He read it. He became a devotee. So you never know who's going to benefit from that book that gets distributed. It's a matter of research that one hardbound book that goes out, at least 5 people will read that. So it may not be the person who you sold it to. It could be someone else who knows that person. Right? Just like Vaisheshika Prabhu, when he was a young person, he was only 16 years old, he was into impersonal meditation. And he would sit in his room for a long time and just meditate on the oneness. So he had a friend who was out there somewhere, and he got a Back to Godhead magazine. So he thought, okay, I know my friend, he meditates, so maybe I'll give him. He came to his house, knocked on his door, but he didn't answer the door because he was in meditation. Right? So his friends slipped the Back to Godhead magazine under the door, and when he came out of his meditation, he read Back to Godhead magazine. And it just opened up everything for him. And he talked to his parents, and he convinced his parents to let him stay in the temple for a month during the summer when he was on his vacation. Just a kid, right? So Vaisheshika Prabhu tells a story. He got out of the car, got his stuff, was going into the temple, and then he turned and he said, "You know I'm not coming back, right?" And that was it. He's been a devotee ever since. So you never know how these books, in whose hands they'll get to. So you never really have to worry about that, because once the book is out there, Lord Chaitanya will make the arrangement for it to get to the right person.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Guruji. How do we inspire people to buy hardbound books in the age of online resources?
Well, the research is that still 80% of the population buy books. Of those that can read, 80% are still buying books. Only 20% are the new age that read things on a device, right? So you don't have to worry. 8 out of 10 people who read, actually, they'll buy the book. We're still in good shape that way, right? But even for those who don't read books anymore and they got to have a device, we have the Transcend app, which has all the books in audio and in digital for those persons that are into the cyberspace, so to speak. The Transcend app is there.
Thank you.
And we don't really convince them. The Paramatma in the heart convinced them. We're just giving them an opportunity to take. Prabhupada said, you approach them and offer them, whether they take, whether they don't take, that's Lord Chaitanya's lookout. And if we have that mood, then we'll be detached, and they'll be more likely to pick up on the spiritual situation and take a book. And if they don't, well, it's not that every village that Lord Chaitanya went to in South India took to the chanting. And if he found that one village was not so much interested, he went to another one. Just go to the next person. There's so many people out there. Any more questions? Yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, how to inspire the person so that he can buy full set of Bhagavatam, because it's too costly, so how to inspire him?
Well, one thing they do in Mayapur, and this is their kind of secret formula, is that they give it on EMIs. Interest-less EMIs. Okay, you take it. You pay whatever you can every month. That's one way. Another way Prabhupada said is that you go into a big man's office, you put it on his desk, open it up, and just leave it with him. He'll be seeing pictures and reading from it. When a person gets something, right, they get attached to it, right? So then Prabhupada said you go back after some time and he'll buy it, right? So these are some of the things that you can do. It's not so much our convincing, but if we're enthusiastic about a thing, they'll also pick up on it and become enthusiastic about it. That's why reading the books is so important. Right? This purport that we read today is so full of nectar. It's so full of realization about how Krishna relates with his devotees, right? Especially the gopis. So when we read that, we become enthusiastic about that, and we transport that enthusiasm to them. Krishna helps. He's in the heart. Right? I can't imagine how I became a devotee even. Right? But somehow, at some point in my life, I just thought, oh, they're chanting. That would be nice to chant. Right? Now, where did that thought come from? Krishna. Nowhere else. So he helps. Any other questions? Yes, Prabhu. I know your brother's a lawyer, so don't ask any hard ones, okay?
In case Nitya Prabhu has been involved in book distribution for years together. So he just asked me a question whether he should ask him. I am asking on his behalf. That
Just like a lawyer, on the behalf.
so when we approach devotees, because for so many years we are already doing this. So we approach, they say we have the book. So this is one category. Then we say you take it for your friends and relatives. And the years have passed and we have built up that category too. Now, what is our experience that a big segment is now increasing that, okay, on my behalf, you distribute. It is called sponsorship, a large number. If we compare our direct distribution and also this sponsorship. So those who are sponsoring, how do we ensure that the book have really reached to the target or really reached to those who would read? Because it's a big segment.
Yeah, well, I do sponsorship, but what I try to make sure is that the person who's sponsoring the books gets the information about how their sponsorship was used. Like this year, I got people to sponsor Srimad Bhagavatam to village libraries and, smaller schools in Maharashtra. So I get a photograph of the principal, an acknowledgement letter, and I give it back to the person who sponsored so that they're confident that the fulfillment was there, that their book went out to to the right place. So that's one way of doing it. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.